When the world is just too much, turn it off and turn on positive, encouraging K-Love.
I'm gonna praise.
World off. K-Love on.
K-Love is sunshine for my soul.
I love K-Love.
Listen now on your radio, online, or on the free K-Love app.
K-Love makes me feel so good.
Positive, encouraging K-Love.
One of these men is a highly respected New York attorney, Lucas A. Ferrara. The other is a self-proclaimed man of the people, known as Mert Roberts. Their aim is to discuss the hottest issues impacting our city, state, and nation. Fasten your seatbelts. Shake it off with Mert and Lucas. Live starts now on AM 970. The Answer.
Hey, Alex. What's the name of that one, my friend?
I really like this one, too. It's called Belfast by Kazoom.
Ah, perfect, Alex. Let's talk about Belfast, a city that has lived through more conflict, more tension, more political manipulation than almost anywhere else in the Western world. It's a city that knows how quickly a rumor can become a riot, how fast a spark can become a fire, and how fragile peace can feel when fear enters the bloodstream. Now, Belfast, Mert, recently saw riots, street clashes, police lines, burning bins, angry crowds after a stabbing allegedly committed by a Sudanese refugee. Now, the victim survived. The suspect was arrested, but the facts did not matter, at least not at first, because within minutes, the story became something bigger, hotter, more combustible. Now, some said this is about public safety, people are scared, people feel abandoned by government, and others said this was anti-immigrant extremism masquerading as outrage. And then there's even a third layer, Mert, the one nobody wants to talk about, but everyone feels: the perception of open borders, uncontrolled immigration, and communities buckling under the weight of decisions made far away. So let's walk through what happened, what's real, what is political, what's being exploited. We're going to talk about the fear, the facts, the immigration pressure, the extreme opportunism, and the uncomfortable truth that Belfast is not just reacting to one stabbing, it's reacting to a system that feels out of control. Let's get into it. Mert, any thoughts about the craziness in Belfast? You got an opinion on it one way or the other?
Well, I'm a very intelligent guy. I'm not saying that to, toot my own horn, but I understand human nature. And, when tensions get high and people feel like their voices are weak or unheard, you'll get riots. So you can continue with the facts, but that's my preamble to what I'm going to say. So you can give me the facts and I'll respond to what you have to lay out.
Well, basically, it was a stabbing, right? And it was in South Belfast. And the police service of Northern Ireland says the suspect, and as I said before, he was a Sudanese man in his 20s, was arrested at the scene. The victim survived. Now, Chief Superintendent Nigel Goddard of the police service of Northern Ireland said, "We are treating this as a serious assault. There is no evidence at this time of a wider threat to the public." Now, that was the official line. But the public did not hear that, Mert. They heard Sudanese refugee. They heard stabbing. In fact, according to some of the initial reports, they attempted beheading, eye being gouged out. It was really extreme. It was melodramatic, and it sounded very, very nasty. And within minutes, social media went crazy, and there were reports, and I'm quoting, "Refugees are attacking locals, the government is hiding the truth, and take back our streets." So this seems to have been a response to a incident which may have had a Muslim Christian underpinning to it, but that's never been confirmed as the actual reality, Mert. So all of a sudden the hatred for immigrants has manifested in a way that resulted in extreme violence. Now, I don't want to discount the fact that what this Sudanese man did was terrible. The stabbing was significant. I mean, the guy's the eye wasn't gouged out, but I hear he lost an eye in the process. And while it wasn't a beheading, it was still serious stabbing. But the reaction, do you think the public reaction to this one incident was warranted, Mert, or is it representative of something larger? Do you see where we're going with this?
Absolutely. It's a good thing that before the show I had a good little nap, because I'm well rested and ready to go there mentally with this, because this is what we have to realize. People don't give a darn, and I'm cleaning that up for the airwaves. They don't give a darn about the facts if they feel like their emotions are more relevant than the facts. So in this situation, in Ireland and throughout the UK, they have a sense they're emotionally attached to this idea that the Muslim population is taking over the UK. So when you have a situation like this where, okay, we don't have all the facts, but do we really need all the facts? Because we feel like this is a early signal to what we've been fearing, that the Muslim population are going to come over here and eliminate white people and get us out of here and take over what we have. So that fear, that built-in distrust, that built-in sense of the government and all their policies allowing these immigrants to come over here and take over, and then you get a situation like this. It's no different than when we have the George Floyd riots or even the 92 Rodney King situation, where people are waiting for a moment, because there are people who will say, well, George Floyd, he had drugs in the system. He was unruly. He was causing problems. But the people don't care about that because they feel strongly. Or even O.J. Simpson. This is not a riot situation, but a lot of people felt like he did it. But a lot of people are saying, well, the police are usually corrupt, so we're going to cheer loudly because we feel like finally somebody was able to get over on the police. Well, in a situation that you're talking about now in Ireland, you have a situation where the people feel like this is their opportunity. They might not get another one, where they can really go to the streets and wreak havoc because they feel strongly about their identities being replaced and them ultimately being replaced by a government who is allowing the Muslim population to come in and force them out. So it makes sense to me. I don't like it, but it makes sense to me why you have things like this happen, because people don't care about these rules and these laws. That's why I say lawyers have to be careful, because nobody cares about your rules. If I feel strongly enough about something, I'm going to take to the streets. I'm going to shoot somebody. I'm going to get mad and stab some. I'm going to wreck something. I might even pull a January 6th if I feel strongly about something. So we see this all the time.
I think you're on to something. I think that this represented a larger problem because the local residents, when interviewed, were talking about fear. They also talked about pressure, the sense that their neighborhoods were absorbing more immigrants than they could handle. So I think you touched on that. One resident said, "We are not racist. We are exhausted. Housing is full, general practitioners are full, schools are full, doctors are general practitioners, schools are full. Nobody asked us if we could take more people." So the system, I think, is failing not just the immigrants, but failing the local residents.
Well, let me say this before you keep going. This is why you have to be careful with insulting intelligent populations of people, because I'm pretty sure the people of Ireland have been very respectful to the Muslim population, but they have feelings deep inside that says, wait a minute, Is it possible for us to get replaced? If you don't allow for an honest discussion to be had where they can really express how they feel without it getting out of hand, you will have these type of explosions, because we see it happening in America right now, where there's young white men out there who feel like, everybody else is being heard over them. So at any opportunity where they can, unleash and get loud, they will. So you have to be careful when you have a population of people who are, for the most part, docile. They just want to work and produce. But if you ignore them and take that for granted, it'll be trouble.
And you know what? The facts are supporting your position, Mert. Northern Ireland has seen a sharp rise in asylum seekers over the last 2 years. The United Kingdom Home Office confirmed that the number of asylum seekers housed in Northern Ireland increased by more than 50%, Mert, year over year.
That's understandable. That's taking advantage of somebody's good nature and their goodwill. You say, hey, everybody just come here. And, people will...
Or they're dumping them there. Or they're dumping them there. You know what I mean?
But you're usually going to dump somebody somewhere where, you seem like the people are nice people. So that's what I mean by you're taking advantage of a docile population, a good-natured people, and it can backfire.
And local councils, local politicians say they were given little notice, no additional funding, and no community consultation. So all the points that you were hitting on, they were feeling ignored. Not only are they absorbing all of this, but they're feeling ignored. A community worker in South Belfast said, people feel decisions are being made in London and the consequences are landing on our doorstep. See, this is where the emotional feud sits. Not just fear of crime, but the belief that immigration is uncontrolled, Mert, unmanaged, and unfairly distributed. And that's, I think, the core of the problem.
You know what? You're Italian, I'm black. Isn't Alex Irish? Like
Alex?
I am somewhat Irish if you consider 5% of it. But it's the best 5% I'm made of, so...
Well, what are your thoughts, Alex? What about the homeland, your 5% homeland?
Well, look, my thoughts are, and I don't know if this is politically correct to say, but I'll say what I said to Lucas off air. Did they not learn from St. Patrick, who drove away the snakes? I mean, really, though.
Oh, my goodness, are you calling immigrants snakes? So we need St. Patrick to come back and to do a cleanse? Is that what you're suggesting?
And I know they got to send notes and letters to me now, but no, it's true.
I was going to say, send your cards and letters to Alex at AM 970 Radio.
But no, it's just the point of a little town that is not used to having an influx is going to react like that. But I do think it is on the local government's job. Remember what we saw in Germany. Germany had the same issue, and when I first read this, I'm like, are we talking about Germany here? Because remember, Germany Chancellor Merkel did nothing, and that place was overrun. And look, the idea of being kind is being taken advantage of and gone too far, guys.
I think part of the problem, Alex, part of the problem, Mert, and I'd be curious about your thoughts on this, is that the lack of assimilation. I think what people are also threatened by is that these immigrants are not, becoming part of the culture. They seem to want to set themselves apart.
Well, I think, what?
And that, I think, is causing the conflict, too, don't you think?
You know what the problem is? The real problem is you bring these individuals in, and they're doing it so that they can join the workforce and become cheap labor. I'm not delusional. I can see right through it. I can see through all the good-natured PR that they put out there. But there's a reason that they're not forcing individuals to assimilate, because that takes too much time and money. But you know what immigrants provide faster than anything? A cheap labor force. So if you're trying to build up Ireland quickly, you say, you know what? Let's just bring in a bunch of immigrants who really need to be somewhere because they're being persecuted at home, and we can give them jobs. We're not going to waste any money assimilating them because we just need them to work. And
but the problem is, Mert, and I didn't mean to interrupt you. They're not assimilating so readily, and in fact, they're putting extreme pressure on social services. I mean, I was reading just the other day that Britain is paying out more in welfare than it has in income that it's receiving. Gross domestic product. I mean, something absurd like that.
Well, I'll say this: if business was suffering, I would side with you, but I assume that business is thriving there because they have an influx of cheap labor. So what's going on with the government? Hey, they take out taxes, whatever y'all spending the tax revenue on, that's up for y'all to decide.
Yeah, but they're not. You know what? You're making an assumption. From what I'm reading, and Alex, I don't know if you read the same thing.
Well, I'm not a lawyer. I don't have to. I like to make assumptions.
No,
I live like that.
But they're not working. See,
Prove me wrong.
They're taking. They're taking welfare, Bert.
No. There's a portion of them taking welfare, and anybody who's an asylum seeking taking welfare is natural because you're bringing in people who don't have anything. So it would make sense for them to take welfare. So
yeah, but they're taking welfare. They don't have anything because they entered illegally or without authorization.
Well,
so
if they're illegal,
if
they're illegal, you can't take welfare if you're illegal. So that doesn't make sense.
I don't know about that.
If they have laws, right? They have laws. So I would assume if you're an illegal alien, you can't accept benefits. So if that's not the case, then they got to fix that. But
they have to fix it. They have to fix it. I mean, in fact, the residents told reporters, we're at a breaking point. It feels like nobody's in charge. We cannot absorb unlimited numbers. And these aren't fringe voices. These are parents, pensioners, shopkeepers, people who feel the ground shifting under their feet. Now, look, Bert, some facts. The United Kingdom asylum backlog reached more than 100,000 cases last year. Hotels across Northern Ireland were converted into emergency accommodations, and local politicians say they receive no proportional funding increase for schools, health care, or housing. So Belfast's housing wait list is already more than 40,000. So this is a system under considerable duress, and the government seems to be insensitive to it, and I think that ignited some of the anger.
Listen, it's now clear what's going on in Ireland. Ireland is trying to build itself up, and they're trying to do it on the back of immigrants. But it's not working. They're trying to take
it back, Mert. They're trying to take it back.
No, because now it makes sense. They'd have invited all these people in because they're trying to, strengthen themselves. They understand. I understand what's going on now, and it's backfiring. Because if you're telling me all of these people are coming in and it's unchecked and there's illegals getting benefits, then that's similar to what we have in the United States, where there's a bunch of illegals over here and they have these jobs under the table. So there's people who are benefiting off the immigrants, and instead of being responsible and providing for the immigrants, they dump them on the government and they release them back, and they, when they're done with them, they release them out there into the wild, and they all of a sudden start to burden the Irish government. So I know what's going on. This is what happens when you don't properly plan for growth. You need to
control immigration. That's the problem.
Everybody's trying to grow. Listen, everybody's trying to move into the 21st century, and to do that, you need a workforce. And you don't have time to train up your workforce, so you got to import.
Yeah, but you know what you need, Mert? You need real immigration planning. You need real community consultation.
I
agree. You need real
with that.
funding for services. You need real transparency and real honesty about capacity. Because, Mert, if people believe borders are open and services are collapsing and nobody is listening, then every incident becomes a spark. And all of us knows what happened when sparks land on dry ground. Here's another spark for you. How about this, my friends? This is Shake It Off with Mert and Lucas live. We're truly honored to have you along with us for the ride. Just in case you're keeping count, episode 103 this is. Come on, would you believe it? This is Lucas Ferrara. What happened to the studio audience, Alex?
Our studio audience actually has a Zoom guest waiting, so...
Oh, okay. This is Lucas Ferrara, and we're ever mindful that without you, we're nothing.
Hey, we're
truly
transparent here, you know?
So, I guess I go. No multitasking here at AM 970. We've got some great guests in store for you, but before we unleash them, you've been hearing from my co-host, Mert Roberts. You heard from Alex Garrett, who's working by engineering and producing the show. He's got a great podcast of his own, Working Master Control. My good friend Ashley Ferrante. We love you, Ashley. After the break, we'll be joined by Nunzia Mondo. She's the author of My Silent Prison, a cautionary tale of spousal abuse on the 1%. Her memoir rips the veneer off a life that looked perfect from the outside, while exposing the emotional and physical abuse she'd endured behind closed doors. So don't you dare drift. Don't you blink. Shake it off with Mert, Alex, and all of us here at AM 970. Return after these messages.
Over the last 30 years, Newman Ferrara, a New York City law firm, has evolved into a national practice focused on real estate, commercial, litigation, civil rights, class actions, and other complex litigation, representing many of the city's largest property owners, managing agents, and thousands of tenants. Newman Ferrara handles some of the nation's most significant class actions and civil rights matters. Newman Ferrara at 55 East 59th Street, New York City. Go online to newmanferrara.com. That's newmanferrara.com. Listen to the firm's name partner, Lucas Ferrara, every Saturday at 10 a.m. on Dottie Herman's longest-running real estate radio program, Eye on Real Estate, on AM 970. A real estate lawyer for 35 years, Lucas is a professor at New York Law School and is also a published author with books on real estate and New York's landlord-tenant law. Tune in Saturdays at 10 a.m. to hear Lucas's unique perspective and advice on Eye on Real Estate.
Hi, Kevin McCullough. You hear me talking about Project Angel Tree's Angel Tree Camp and the good that it does for kids. Let me just share a quick reminder that we've just kicked off this Angel Tree camping effort to try to get kids that would not have the chance otherwise to be at an Angel Tree camp this summer and to learn about Jesus, probably for the first time. Our friends at Prison Fellowship are the ones that are doing this, and we're doing it for children whose parents are incarcerated and through no fault of the child at all have found themselves living in a very hard situation, oftentimes with relatives that don't really care if they live or die. But the parents have gone through the entire Angel Tree program in prison. They've gone through the Bible program, and they've nominated their kids to be scholarship potential for an Angel Tree camp. And it makes such a huge difference in the life of these children.
We wake up, we have breakfast, and then we usually play some games. And then if we're older, we might have like a Bible study before worship. We worship till lunch, and it's a blast, you know. Everybody's jumping, we're singing. After lunch, we then have like free time. We do crafts, we go swimming, we do all that stuff, all that fun stuff. I mean, I love camp. That's how I want to keep coming back.
That's a young man by the name of Delton who has been to camp multiple times. But he could not have gone except that his first year someone stepped forward and gave him the scholarship. His parent was in prison, came to know the Lord through the Prison Fellowship ministry, and nominated Delton for for Angel Tree Camp, and now he is making a difference in that camp himself. Friends, we need your help. 888-206-2794, 888-206-2794. Please go and be as generous as you can. One $200 gift will get a child to camp this summer. 888-206-2794 or thatkevinshow.com and click the banner at the top of the page.
If you're a tradesman and you make money with your truck, Ralph can save you a buck. Ralph could hook you up with a pickup. Just pick up the phone and call Ralph at 844-TRD-TOYOTA. Ralph is the blue-collar guy with a hook into Toyota trucks who speaks your language, like low lease and finance rates for fleets, small businesses, and independents. Ralph can help with a Toyota business line of credit. Ralph always gets you the best price. Plus, Ralph spreads it around with an incredible referral program built to incentivize you to send your friends and family to 844-TRD-TOYOTA. So if you need a hookup to a pickup, pick up the phone and call Ralph at 844-TRD-TOYOTA or find out more at ToyotaTRD.com. Give Ralph a call at 844-TRD-TOYOTA and make sure you tell him Joe Piscopo sent you.
Welcome back to Shake It Off with Mert and Lucas, live on AM 970, The Answer.
What is that, Alex? What's the name of that one?
All right, Lucas, this is Journey from the Asylum by U-879X.
That's a weird name. Our next guest is Nunzia Mondo, a woman whose life looked flawless from the outside, privilege, comfort, and the polished world of the 1%. But behind the facade was a very different reality. In her memoir, My Silent Prison, a cautionary tale of spousal abuse in the 1%, she exposes the years of emotional and physical abuse she endured behind closed doors and the long, quiet fight to reclaim her freedom. It's a story about survival, truth, and the courage it takes to walk out of a gilded cage and rebuild a life on your own terms. Today, she's using, a modulated voice to protect herself, but she'll be shining a light on the kind of abuse most people never imagined could exist in the wealthiest corners of the world. Nunzia Mondo joins us now. Welcome to the program, Nunzia.
Thank you, Lucas.
Now, let me ask you the most obvious question. When we promoted the show, we were asked not to use a picture of your face or a headshot, and now I understand you're using a voice modulator. Why this concern about your identity and protecting your voice? If you could share with our listeners.
There are 10 reasons. The first one is to protect my children. None of my 3 children knows that I've written this book, and there is stuff in the book that I think could be seriously damaging to them if they were to know it. So I'd like to avoid them finding out about my book at all costs. Also, I'd like to avoid my ex-husband finding out, because he's he's quite a vengeful person. So I wanted to get my story out there, but I wanted to protect the innocent as well as the guilty.
All right. So can you explain to the people, this is Mert, by the way, can you explain to the people what type of danger that you're in? Because I would think if this was just some regular guy, you could just call the police on him. But apparently this is not that kind of situation, and there are bigger factors at play. So can you explain to the people, who are we dealing with? You don't have to use any names, but what type of person are we dealing with?
Okay, well, at this juncture, there wouldn't be physical danger for me. And because we don't see each other, we don't speak to one another. The danger is probably more legal. Yeah, because I live in a jurisdiction where he could easily sue me. Yeah, I have nothing in the book that is really debatable or disputable, but she wouldn't like it. He wouldn't like it. He wouldn't like knowing that this book that's written in so much detail about some of his misadventures and misdeeds and really awful behavior is out in the public. That's really the danger.
So is it, have the names been changed, or can we determine who are we talking about? Because I'm trying to figure out, is it possible for him to find out that this book does exist, or is it the names and the all of these type of situations have been changed so you could write it?
Well, I can tell you, Mert, that a lot has been changed. A lot of the details, so that my family is not identifiable. Having said that, one person did actually figure it out. But I think most people won't be able to figure it out. However, there is actually one thing that I recount in the book, an arrest for assault that he perpetrated not against me, but against a person we worked in his building. I've changed the details, but I think if he were to read that, he would know that the story was about him, because it's such a unique story.
Now, how do we determine if you're not just some clever author who's using it? Did somebody verify all this before you wrote this book? Because you could just be a very gifted and creative author, and this could be a marketing scheme. So how did we get this book published? Did anybody have to confirm any of this?
No, and you make a very good point, that there is really no way for the readership to know, except through gut feeling, that this is a true account of what happened to me. Because, people before me have, made memoirs up completely, and I'm aware of that. I think one of the biggest mistakes, and this will go to some advice that I have for not just women, but anybody who is abused, make sure that there is a record with the police, with the hospital. Yeah. And I didn't really have those sorts of records, to offer. Although there is, obviously records of some of the legal proceedings, and there is a record of his arrest.
Oh, okay.
Let me ask you, Nunzia, so we can get a little bit more specific here, because we only have a few minutes before our first break. When was the moment that you realized your perfect life wasn't perfect? Did you marry into money? Can you give us like a general overview? Is it somebody moneyed, somebody political? I don't want to compromise your identity, but can you give us a feel for what was happening and what changed your perspective of reality?
I did not marry into money, but I married into potential. And he certainly did make a lot of money. Yeah, and he was it was a struggle to get to the top. By the time he was 30, he was already a director of a major investment bank. So financially, materially, we had a very nice life. But he would come home from the office and just, I would take the punishment for everybody else, and he would get angry at the drop of a hat. So, as to your question, when did I realize it? I probably realized it quite early, but I thought I could fix it. That's why I stayed that high. I persisted.
Did you stay because of the money? I always ask this because that's the one question. But if this was some broke guy and he was beating on you, would you have stayed versus a rich guy beating on you and you staying? I know that might be insensitive, but it's just a question a lot of people wonder about, because if the lifestyle is remarkable, you might be willing to try to fix it. So do you think that your mentality was in that space, or was there something else going on in your head?
I think it probably was in the back of my head. If it was a poor guy who drank and didn't bring home the bacon and he couldn't actually live, it would have been probably easier for me to leave, that's for sure. But it wasn't really about the money why I stayed. I stayed because I don't believe in divorce. I think divorce is a personal failure. And I stayed because I wasn't really clear that this was something that I needed to leave for. And I didn't leave because I had a family that I wanted to keep intact. And I didn't leave because I honestly thought it was fixable.
So you had 2 kids with this person?
Really.
Interesting.
Really, yes.
3, so you wanted to preserve the family unit, Bert. That certainly makes sense to me, that she would endure. And this was physical abuse, Nunzia? I'm sorry to get specific, but when we're talking about spousal abuse, what kind of spousal abuse are you referring to? We have about a minute before we go to commercial.
Some of it was physical, but most of it was verbal. And there was always humming away in the background this impatience, this irritation. inside him that was always threatening to bubble over into full-blown rage. So the entire household was aware of that. You know, everybody was always on guard, even the kids. So it was mainly verbal, but it could so easily, transition into physical.
We have to take a quick commercial break, Nunzia, but folks, have no fear. When we return, Nunzia Mondo will rejoin us. You'll find her book, My Silent Prison, on Amazon and wherever books are sold. In the meantime, Mert, Alex, and I hope you'll stay right where you are. What a story. And we're only getting started. Nunzia Mondo, author of My Silent Prison, is staying with us. And after the break, we're diving deeper into how someone escapes a life that looks perfect on the outside, but feels like captivity on the inside. Don't drift, don't blink, don't even think about touching that dial, because Nunzia returns with us right after these messages.
Over the last 30 years, Newman Ferrara, a New York City law firm, has evolved into a national practice focused on real estate, commercial, litigation, civil rights, class actions, and other complex litigation, representing many of the city's largest property owners, managing agents, and thousands of tenants. Newman Ferrara handles some of the nation's most significant class actions and civil rights matters. Newman Ferrara at 55 East 59th Street, New York City. Go online to newmanferrara.com. That's newmanferrara.com. Listen to the firm's name partner, Lucas Ferrara, every Saturday at 10 a.m. on Dottie Herman's longest-running real estate radio program, Eye on Real Estate, on AM 970. A real estate lawyer for 35 years, Lucas is a professor at New York Law School and is also a published author with books on real estate and New York's landlord-tenant law. Tune in Saturdays at 10 a.m. to hear Lucas's unique perspective and advice on Eye on Real Estate.
Born on America's darkest day of September 11th, the Tunnel to Towers Foundation has been helping America's heroes ever since. Heroes like Fire Captain Andrew Donner. Inspired by the bravery of New York City's firefighters on 9/11, Andrew devoted his life to serving his community. He rose to the ranks of his fire department, sharing his knowledge, training rigorously, and leading with courage. But after a brave battle, Andrew lost his life to lung cancer caused by occupational toxins. Andrew leaves behind his beloved wife Jessica, their son, his parents, and sister. Tunnel to Towers honored Andrew by paying the Donner family's mortgage. Please help more families like the Donners. Your donation to Tunnel to Towers can bring hope and security to families who have sacrificed so much for us. Donate $11 a month. Go to t2t.org. That's T2T.org.
Close your eyes and see it. A private island in the Bahamas. Powder white sand under your feet. Jamaica's lush mountains rising out of the sea. Crystal clear waters in the Cayman Islands. Sun-drenched streets and ancient culture in Cozumel. Now step aboard a luxury ship where everything is handled. First-class dining, relaxed elegance. No packing and unpacking, just experience. And at the center of it all, conversations that matter. Salem Media's Mike Gallagher, Scott Jennings, Larry O'Connor, Jennifer Horn. Live, unfiltered, engaging with you. Meet them, talk with them, share meals, build relationships with people who think like you and value what you value. This is more than a vacation. It's a celebration of 250 years of American freedom, set against the most beautiful backdrop in the Caribbean. Text cruise to 94878 to book your cabin. 7 days, November 14th through 21st. The Gulf of America Cruise. Book now. Text cruise to 94878.
Bone on bone arthritis. 30 million Americans have arthritis pain and suffering. Bone on bone arthritis, hips, knees, shoulders, elbows, hands, feet. Sadly, most never learn all options until meeting Dr. Lederman. Thousands treated over decades with low-dose radiation for painful arthritis, well-tolerated, outpatient, non-invasive. High success with Dr. Lederman's low-dose radiation for arthritis. Treatment in minutes, most insurances, Medicare, Medicaid accepted. Convenient radiosurgery in New York, 1384 Broadway at 38th in Manhattan. Call Dr. Lederman for info. Better yet, meet Dr. Lederman. Bone-on-bone arthritis and more. Call 212-CHOICES. 212 Choices. Dr. Lederman's low-dose radiation arthritis treatment hidden from most until now. Bone-on-bone arthritis, plantar fasciitis 2. Call Dr. Lederman for info. 212 Choices, 212 Choices.
Welcome back to Shake It Off with Mert and Lucas, live on AM 970, The Answer.
We have been speaking with Nunzia Mondo, whose journey from silence to strength is laid bare in her memoir, My Silent Prison. There's more to unpack, and she's here with us live. You'll find her book, My Silent Prison, on Amazon and wherever books are sold. We'll also have the link posted on our website, Shake It Off Live. Now, Nunzia is, to protect her identity and the safety of her family, is using a voice modulator, and we respect that. Let's pick up where we left off. Now, Mert, you had a follow-up or a question?
Well, absolutely. I got several follow-ups, because the one thing I'd like to know is when you enter into this 1% lifestyle and it goes bad, what is life like after that? Because I don't know if you're obviously not using your real name. We're using a voice decoding software. So what is life actually like? Do you get to exist, happy, and, you still have contact with your husband? Or do you have to move around in secrecy and in fear? What is life like for you after everything goes wrong?
Well, even though we live in the same city, I've been fortunate not to run into him at all. And I had to run into him at the divorce trial, sit in the same room, exchange ugly glances, but otherwise I don't have to move around in secrecy. I guess where we live is just big enough that we can avoid one another. Life is different. It's a somewhat lonely life, because when you are a woman of a certain age and you're divorced, you're no longer considered worthy of invitations to dinner parties and stuff like that. But I've adjusted to it, and I do have good friends.
Well, I don't want to be insensitive, but are you open to being a sugar mama or something like that? Maybe you.
I think Mert is propositioning you, Nunzia, and I apologize.
You got a lot of money, and
everybody.
You're lonely, I could be your friend. I'm messing with you.
I have enough money to live. I live comfortably, but nowhere near as comfortably as Mert, because I used to. Hey, you might want to live elsewhere for a sugar mama. I think the bigger problem is that my trust in people is gone. Yeah, and I can't really see myself in another romantic relationship.
Do you miss it?
I do, actually. I do miss being in, my ex-husband was a highly intelligent man, and when he was on good form, he really was very entertaining. And I learned a lot from him. In some ways, we were quite well matched. So I do actually miss having a family and being married, but I'm used to this lifestyle and I prefer it. As I say in my book, every transaction with him was sort of fraught with danger. You never knew what was going to happen. You could be in a pleasant conversation, and for no apparent reason, he would blow up. And that was just so stressful. 30 years of it. I'm really very happy to be out of it.
Right.
So did I hear you correctly, Nunzia? You said 30 years? That's a long time.
Yes.
So what finally pushed you to walk out? What was 30 years? I mean, what was the moment that you said, I'm done?
Well, it sort of took about 2 weeks. I had 3 years of hell. You sort of had, 3 stages. When I look back, I could see there were 3 stages of Tom. And we were at the end of stage 3, where he really had just gone, bonkers, mad. He was crazy. And very abusive. And he said some weird things one day. He said, if you don't change your attitude to me, I'm going to divorce you. And he laid it out all really nicely. And then he got very nasty and he said, and if you do anything that I don't like, I'm going to get the nastiest divorce lawyer in this town. And you just better do things my way. And at that point I was so beaten down that I didn't even react. So that was sort of what set everything in motion. But then we had a lovely weekend together. And there was no acrimony or anything. I thought that was weird. And then he went off to the office on Monday morning. And that's when I woke up and smelled the coffee. And I went to the filing cabinets and I saw that many files were missing. Such as the American Express and the bank statements. Yeah, and then I thought, this is very fishy. And long story short, I found a private investigator who followed him the next weekend, and it turned out that he was importing young ladies to fool around with, and he would keep them in the hotel and then come back, in the wee hours of the morning. And that's what made it very easy for me. He was doing this all along, but I was not aware of, it's wrong to say I wasn't aware. I was aware of many red flags, but I just decided not to process them. And so I think the value of my book, hopefully, is for people to read it and think, oh, maybe I should be paying attention to this particular behavior, because there were many behaviors that I should have taken note of. But
was he unethical in his business dealings or just in his private life?
I think that he was unethical in his business dealings. He certainly was unethical during the divorce, but I think in his business there was some money laundering that happened in concert with some of his partners and employees. There was some other fraud and perjury. Yes, I think he was.
Now, you've said the legal system can be brutal for survivors. What surprised you most when you stepped into that arena, the legal system, Nunzia?
What surprised me was the lack of care. The judge in particular surprised me. We had two judges, and just how slapdash they were with their reading of the stuff that had been submitted to court, and then slapdash in their judgments. We actually had to pay extra lawyers to try to read the judgments, because they were very hard to sort out. Yeah.
So the legal system let you down as well? Is that what you're saying, Nunzia?
I think so, yes.
Yeah.
I'm not sure that would happen in the United States. But I live in a jurisdiction where there is a less consciousness of abuse, and less consciousness of the needs of a spouse who is fleeing a relationship.
Wow,
that surprised me.
I am so sorry that you had to endure that. Now, writing this book required that you relive your trauma. What part was the hardest to put on the page?
I would say all the incidents that involved my children, or that my children were witness to. There was one incident probably is foremost in my mind, and that is when we were at a small airport in France, and my eldest, who was 10 at the time, had his luggage cart, and he bumped it into his father's ankles by mistake. But he was, he was just being a 10-year-old boy, and he should have been told off. But what happened instead is that my husband saw red, and he took his luggage cart, and he sped down the ramp, and just smashed it into our son's ankles. And our son turned around and saw that it was his father, absolutely out of his mind in fury. And my son started crying, I think not just because of the physical pain, but also because of the realization that his father had done this to him. And so I told the kids, go to the baggage carousel, and you look out for our luggage, and I took my husband to an area where we were out of the earshot, and I said to him, and this is probably one of the first times that I stood up to him, and I said, you will never do anything like that to any of my children. And his response was, don't tell me what to do. And there wasn't really a lot I could say to that. And I was in a foreign country, where I don't speak the language. At his mercy. So there wasn't a lot I could do, but I can tell you that during that particular vacation, he was more unpleasant than usual because I had challenged him. So that probably stands out. Anything having to do with the kids is most painful for me to have to relive.
No, a question I'd like to ask you, can you give the origin of where you guys come from? I don't know if that's too much, but where is this all located? Because I have a question regarding where it's located to follow up when you respond.
Okay, well, he is from England.
Oh,
and
England.
I'm from New England. But we moved all around the world. And
you're from New England. He's from England.
That's right.
Okay. Because I was thinking maybe if this is from, some of these other countries. But so do you feel like the English culture deems some of this behavior towards you acceptable? Because I don't have a lot of information about how the UK operates, but is it acceptable, some of the stuff he was doing over there, like with the powerful men? Is this a culture that they participate in with their women?
No, I don't think so. I think they're very much like the United States in the sense that this sort of behavior is not okay. And, that's why so many people keep it, when it happens, they keep it under wraps. They don't want anyone to know. But that's a good question. I think in some cultures, it would be acceptable for him to mistreat me and speak to me roughly all the time and he's his patient. But no, I think England is a relatively civilized place when it comes to marriage. We both come from sort of what I would call the upper middle class.
Hey, Nunzia, we only have a minute. What do you hope women, especially those living in silence, take away from your story and your book? We only have a minute.
I'd like them to wake up and see what's happening to them. It's not just women, by the way. I know men who were abused. I would like them to read it and think, oh gosh, this has happened to me, but I don't recognize it as abuse. And I'd also like them to realize that they don't need to stay. And that they shouldn't say they cannot fix the situation. And they need to make a plan to leave safely. And there is help out there for them. There are agencies and churches and charities that can help women in these situations. It's often very difficult to leave.
Have you reconciled? Have you found peace? Have you found peace, Nunzia? Have you reconciled what's happened to you?
Yes. I think I'm damaged. But I have found peace, and I live a joyful life. I really do.
Amen. And we wish you much love, and we wish you much happiness with your family. Nunzia, we've run out of time, unfortunately. You'll find her book, a compelling book, My Silent Prison, on Amazon and wherever books are sold. You can also find the link posted on our website, shakeitofflive.com. Nunzia, thank you so much for coming on the program. We really appreciated
Thank you both for the opportunity.
Bless you, my friend. Next up, Dr. Izik Albla. She's a woman whose life reads like 3 different books. Born and raised in a Muslim household, she also survived years of abuse, escaped a violent marriage, and ultimately made a radical, life-altering decision. She converted to Christianity. Hers is a story of trauma, courage, and transformation, much like Nunzia. So don't go away. It's imperative you come back after the news at the top of the hour, suffer through a few commercial messages, but once that's all done, Mert, Alex, and I, along with the rest of the AM 970 team, will be waiting right here for you. We know you want it. We know you do. Stick around. After the break, Dr. Abla joins us. She grew up Muslim, survived abuse, became a Christian. Trust me, her story doesn't tiptoe, it detonates.
The preceding hour of programming, sponsored by Shake It Off Live, LLC.
When the world is just too much, turn it off and turn on positive, encouraging K-Love.
I'm gonna praise.
World off. K-Love on.
K-Love is sunshine for my soul.
I love K-Love.
Listen now on your radio, online, or on the free K-Love app.
K-Love makes me feel so good.
Positive, encouraging